up, guys? Today we're back talking about Black Dwarf. Gonna be doing World Boss Ultimate today, 5 runs. Gonna be doing them on stage 5, just to show, or I should say just to get a little bit more of a attack power and defense off Black Dwarf. Make it just a little bit harder anyways. So I'm going to show you the 5 characters that I use mainly for Black Dwarf, and the teams kind of vary. Most of the time I really don't care about the teams, I just kind of use the characters. But again, I'm just doing stage 5, I'm not doing stage 20 or anything like that. From stage 5 to stage 20, big difference, so that's going to depend a lot on the team that you're going to be using. So with Black Dwarf, just to kind of explain Black Dwarf a little bit, he's a physical attack character. Alright, he does have higher physical defense than he does energy defense, so you want to use energy attacks. And then he also has a physical immune. When Black Dwarf's life bar changes colors and he goes down, he does this one attack. At the end of it, if he hits you with it, most characters that you have are going to die. If not, they're going to be close to death. So there's one really good way by switching characters. Another good way is to use a good DPS energy attack. That way you don't get to the end of his attack, you'll have his life bar down and he'll be back to normal. And you'll be pretty well taking his life down, no problem. So just with that being said, we're going to get in here. And the first one I'm going to use, obviously, is going to be one of the best ones. In my opinion, is the best one. And that is Scarlet Witch. Now, I really don't need much of anything else other than Scarlet Witch. Reason why is because her leadership is really good with a 45% increase of energy attack, so she's got her own leadership. I can throw other ones on here, but I'm going to go ahead and save other characters for other teams. So I'm just going to go ahead and throw anybody on there. Now for your strikers, you're going to want obviously energy attack again, because physical attack Black Dwarf's got more defense for. So the ones I'm going to be choosing are increase damage dealt to supervillain types characters by 10%. Now Scarlet Witch, her DPS is just great, especially with the IW uni. So it's not going to take very long for us to just completely annihilate Black Dwarf. Much the same with a couple of the other characters. And then the last two that I'm going to be showing you is mainly a survivability. They do good damage, but the higher stage that you're going to be fighting, it's just not as quick. So the battles gets to be really long. So as you've seen, I didn't follow any certain button rotations or anything like that. Just about any attack with Scarlet Witch, with fighting Black Dwarf at stage 5, it really doesn't matter. The DPS is just gonna destroy Black Dwarf. Now, for one of the characters, I'm going to switch my profile over to another profile. I play 4 profiles on this game. Yeah, I know. But But anyway, so I'm going to switch over because I don't have one of the characters tier 2 on this profile yet. That way I can show you, because without the tier 2, it's not really worth using him for Black Dwarf. But anyways, for the second character, I'm going to use Gene. Now, with Gene, you can use a couple different people for leadership. Me personally, I like to use either Ancient One or drawing on a blank here, Santana. Sorry about that, guys. But I like to use one or the other. Santana, she does an increase to fire, which is much similar to Ancient One too. And wasn't even paying attention as I was scrolling through here. But the reason why is because Ancient One does elemental boost, and Satana does a fire boost. So it's kind of much of the same. But I'm going to use Satana and save AO for a different one. And get back up here to the X-Men. And we'll just throw... Oops. We'll just throw Beast. Now, Beast is a physical attack, so it's not a character that you want to use. I only did it just for the little bit of bonus that is on there. The main one is Leadership and Gene for this team here. And with Leadership and Gene, the DPS for Black Dwarf, again, is going to be really good. Now Gina also has a recovery, so she'll sit there and build life as you sit here and attack. One of the plus sides about her. She's also got 2 lives, so if she does happen to die, she's just going to come back. Another big bonus. Now this is where Black Dwarf goes into a physical immune. And as long as you can take the life bar down before he releases it, you're good to go. Now obviously, again, you guys are not following any certain button rotation or anything like that. You can get better DPS with guys following button rotations, so it's definitely a good thing to check up on for characters that you're going to be using for World Boss or even Alliance Battle. A lot of people, I can't really say a lot of people, but a lot of newcomers, they just kind of go for the skill cooldown and button mash. Button mashing is never going to get you the highest score. So for the third team, we are going to be using Cable. Now I'm going to throw Magneto on there. Now Magneto does really good for Black Dwarf too. And Magneto also has immunity to attack, or attack immunity, so, or I should say damage immunity. He's not going to take any damage as long as you can stay on one of his skills, and he's also a constant attack. The downside with Magneto is some of his attacks are physical attack, so it doesn't do really unless you keep that good chain going. and it's nothing like Scarlet Witch or Cable or Jean or anything like that, but Magneto will do a decent job at Black Dwarf. Much the same with Thor. Thor will do a great job with Black Dwarf too, and the DPS is actually really good. And not only that, but he can also T3. So at T3, his DPS is going to be awesome. But anyways, back to what we're doing. So I'm gonna throw Cyclops on there for a couple extra bonuses. And with Magneto, this applies to mutant allies. So Cable is a mutant. Obviously, he's going to get the bonus. X-Men, all three of them. So it gives us another bonus. Again, going to be going with all energy attacks and increased damage dealt to supervillain for the strikers. Not going to follow any certain button rotations, just kind of button mashing, showing DPS, defense, and explaining a little bit as I go. Now, before I hit the screen, Cable, he does have a chain, and realistically, I will be doing rotation here. I only use 3 skills. I like to get that chain rolling out, and normally it takes me 2 times, and Black Dwarf is gone. If not, you'll see me just kind of start button mashing just to get the other ones, the other skills hitting him, just to take down that last bit of life. Well, that one messed up. I didn't get the chain effect going. But as you can see with Cable, DPS is really great. If you can get his chain rocking out there, it just takes seconds to annihilate Black Dwarf at stage 5. If not, and you prefer to button mash, even with button mashing, he's just gonna destroy Black Dwarf. Now for the fourth and fifth one, you actually got a couple different options. Um, there's a couple different bosses that can go through and beat Black Dwarf pretty easy with great survivability. Um, Jean, Sharon, she's pretty decent. Corv isn't bad, but and APOC is not bad. Warlock is usually one that I will use to beat Black Dwarf. If not, then I will usually go with Thanos. Now today for the fourth one, I'm going to be doing Thanos. Just to, mainly it's because Thanos has good DPS, but his survivability is just awesome. Even at stage 15, it's still kind of hard to beat, for Black Dwarf to kill Thanos anyways. I could use also Thor. Thor is going to annihilate Black Dwarf at stage 5. And of course there's also Strange. Strange, you can pretty well just go off from 2 buttons, 1 button, 4 button rotation. Regardless, he has one skill that you're going to be using that will just constantly regenerate health. So we're going to move Thanos off to the side. Let's see here. We'll use AO for the leadership. And go back up here to the Black Order. And we'll just put Ebony on there. Now, Ebony is another good one too. The reason why I don't use Ebony on Black Dwarf is because it's really one skill that does major DPS, and it's not a long enough combination for me to say that he's better than anybody else. In my opinion, he's actually kind of one of the lower guys. Now, with that being said, Ebony can totally smoke Black Dwarf. No problems, no questions asked. But there's just other ones that have better DPS along with survivability. Strikers again. Didn't have one of my energy ones on there. Well, regardless, all energy attack for the strikers again. Black Dwarf has more physical defense than what he does energy defense, and he's also got a physical immune that he does once you hit, I believe you get his health bar down to 8. That's when he goes into this physical immune attack, and his life bar changes. He'll sit in the middle of the screen, and if you allow that to go through, when his attack goes through, he will either kill your character or your character will be almost dead. Other plus side with using Ancient One is you can also use Ancient One to heal. But of course we're not going to be needing Ancient One to heal. And if you notice, Thanos has no problem with health whatsoever. You don't even have to pay attention to it. You can sit here and button mash if you really want to. Which is pretty much what I'm doing. Now, well, I did make it. I was going to say, I'm probably not going to make it, so you're going to see me end up switching to another character to avoid that attack. Sacrifice one of the other ones to save your main damaged character is always a better choice than letting your main one die. Now, skill 4, 5, and 3 are my main skills to use, and 2 is another one, but if you don't notice, I usually quickly rotate through 1 and 2, let 3 play out, and then it's kind of quick through 4 and 5. 4 and 5 will play out as long as you let it go just for a certain amount of time. Once that time hits, you can pretty well just switch right to another skill, so canceling to another one. Alright guys, so I do have to switch over to a profile. I have one left on this one, so before I switch over to another profile and show you guys the other character that has great DPS, awesome to use on Black Dwarf World Boss Ultimate, I'm going to go ahead and throw Thor on here. And I'm going to slide him over. Up a little bit. I'm just going to throw this one on here for the defense, the all attack, and the speed, because I do have super villain attack extra damage off from Shuri. Sorry about that, guys. So just in case you didn't know, let me show you on here. So Shuri is one of the characters that in her T2 decreases damage received from supervillain type characters by 35% and increases damage dealt to supervillain type characters by 45%. This applies to all allies, so all you gotta do is have her on your team and she's gonna help you get 45% more damage to supervillain types. So bosses are an excellent one to fight, and throw Shuri on there just to get the extra damage. In leadership, we'll say energy attack or whatever. In this case, I'm just going to go ahead and throw a little bit lower one on there. I could go through here and find somebody for the energy attack, raises energy attack up, which would end up doing more damage, but I don't really need to do more damage at stage 5, and I'm just kind of just throwing Thor out there to show you guys. Now, the thing that I like about Thor's IW uni is it's got an immunity effect that is just great. Thor also does great DPS and has the T3. I don't have the T3 yet. I'm still working on getting the crystals to T3 him. And I believe I'm lacking 2 books right now also. So as you can see, Thor doesn't do too off the bat at all. If I had a little, I could probably get a little bit better of a setup off Thor for sure. But for the most part, Thor does great. His life, you can see I just now started getting hit a little bit because I didn't stay on the button 5, skill 5. I'm not going with any certain rotation. If I went with a rotation, obviously it would help out a whole lot more. And here we go with his physical immune. Not gonna make it. Just gonna switch it over to another character. Now, Shuri does great damage elsewhere, but as you can see, she does not do great damage to Black Dwarf. There are other physical attack characters that will do pretty decent damage to Black Dwarf, even in the higher stages, but it's just so much easier for the most part to use an energy attack, and depending on, you're going to have more choices or better choices off in the energy attack than what you are with the physical attack. Again, because Black Dwarf has physical immunity, and also has a higher physical attack defense. And sorry about that, I took my hand off the game and started waving around while I was talking. Not really too worried though. But anyway, so just to show you guys Thor, it was pretty easy to beat Black Dwarf. I could have kept it up to where I barely was losing any life at all. I did take my hand off and quit pushing buttons. That's what dropped my life right down. Really wasn't too awful worried about it. I knew I could beat Black Dwarf regardless, whether it came down to Shuri or, you know, I had to use one of the three. It really didn't matter. But alright guys, so I gotta switch over to another profile. I'll be adding the clip in to this video. Alright guys, so got on my other profile and now I'm going to be doing the fifth one that in my opinion is the top 5. Again, just did Thor, just kind of throw the last one out there. I had one more that I had to do, so figured I might as well just show Thor why I had to complete it. So anyways, get in here, and we are still on stage 5 as you've seen. Now I just went ahead and I just kind of threw this team on there. Anti-Man is the one we're going to be using, and just going to be using his leadership, 45% increase to all attack. And Valk, she is another one much like Shuri or Coulson. They do extra damage to supervillains at tier 2 as long as they're on your team, and Wasp I just kind of threw on there. Alright, so you can see that all my strikers are energy besides for Cap. I guess I don't have a 5th energy one for my strikers, but not really too awful concerned about it. Strikers are gonna come out there and do extra damage for you. I'm not too awful worried about using the strikers at this point. The DPS is gonna go down pretty quick. Now, Anti-Man does have skill rotation, just like I keep on mentioning throughout the video. That skill rotation is going to get you better DPS. Now, for me, I normally do this one, what you'll see here in just a second, and usually it works out pretty good for me. And as you can see on stage 5, using Anti-Man with tier 2, DPS, crazy, Black Dwarf, annihilated. Alright guys, so there's the 5 characters with an extra one included. The extra one would be Thor. Just kind of throw Thor out there, show you guys what he can do, what his defense is. As you've seen with him, it was pretty easy to beat Black Dwarf, and he does have a pretty good immunity. For the 5 characters, four out of the 5 did pretty crazy DPS for Black Dwarf. 5th one not too awful bad, but it definitely could be better with a skill rotation in that. So, but as you guys seen, it really only would take a few minutes to beat Black Dwarf with the 5 characters. You could definitely set up better teams, you know, get some extra bonuses in there, much like that I did not do, and, you know, kind of go from there. But anyways guys, that is going to be the video. So you guys have yourself a great night, day, whatever it is, wherever you are.